Good morning, Read 585. This is the course orientation for professional development in reading for our Fast and Furious 5-week web course. I've been checking in on the voice thread, and I see many of you are hoping to gain a bit in professional development. I will do my absolute best in 5 weeks. If we had 16, I'd feel a little bit better, but we'll do what we absolutely can in 5 weeks. So let's begin with some introductions. That's me with the mic. I thought it was kind of fitting since you're really only going to hear me for 5 weeks. Lucky you. I am Dr. Erica Bowers. I am going on my 6th year as a full-time tenure track professor at Cal State Fullerton. Previous to this, I was a peer assistance and review coach in Long Beach Unified School District and the lead district trainer, doing a lot on lesson design and literacy. And before that, I was a classroom teacher in Long Beach Unified. And before that, I was a classroom teacher in LA Unified. And before that, I was a classroom teacher for private schools. So altogether, I have now 23 years in education. I also do a bit of consulting work. I've worked with Paramount Unified and Portland Public Schools, and recently had a book come out, very exciting stuff, on academic language and literacy, which fits nicely with the linguistics class that I used to teach and don't get to anymore. Now I'm also the director of the Reading Center at Cal State Fullerton, where I get to do a lot of fun work with the community and your capstone class, Read 581, which is the clinic. So let's take a quick tour. I'm going to show you a bit of the pieces of Blackboard. Those of you that have had me for an online class before, either the 508 or the 514, most of this will look very familiar. I will also be showing you where, but for those of you that haven't had online, this should be very helpful. And I'm also going to show you where a lot of the things are kept on Blackboard. So, first thing I'm going to do is show you the Blackboard class, and I guess I should have pulled that up instead of whatever screen I'm on. Oh, my email. Okay, so this, let me scoot this over. This is your Blackboard page, but let me go to what you guys see. Okay, there we are. So this is the announcement page that anytime you go into Blackboard, this is the first thing that you'll see. And you'll have all your buttons to the left over here. And these are the announcements. These are the announcements from the last 7 days. And since we're only on day 2 or 3 of the course, those are the only announcements you'll find. You'll see the one from yesterday where I told you that the Read 570 course orientation was available. If you're in 570, that was very helpful. If you're actually a Read 585 student, not so much. And like I said, or maybe I restarted, Courtney Henshaw, thanks so much for letting me know about my oops. And now you're getting your course orientation. So that's where you get announcements. You can go to just today's, you can see the last 30 or just the last 7. If you want to know a little bit more about me, and you can actually see, there I am over there. There's my staff information or my faculty information, and you've got my email address, my office phone, where my office is, and I do plan on trying to be at my office on Thursdays from 3 to 4. But the best way to get a hold of me is either by calling my work phone and it bounces into my email. I actually hear your voice talking to me over email, or by emailing me. I'm pretty quick and responsive on email unless it's a god-awful day, like today where I have meetings once I leave here from 10:30 till 3:30, and then another meeting beginning at 4. Good times. So I will be intermittently available throughout the day until this evening. Next, you have course information. In the course information, you've got the syllabus. You've got the Word document for this course orientation. You've got just the class calendar. Hopefully you can all open a docx file. If you can't, I'll need to send you the fix. You can add a patch to either a Mac or a PC that will let you open docx files. Let me know if you need it. You can go usually to Microsoft's Update Center and find it though. And then there's a student questionnaire that you're completing for 585. And I know some of you are in both classes. I do want it for both classes though. It's just, there's many of you in both classes, so it's just for ease of finding who you are and where you are. It's better to have it in both. Learning units, this is where you'll find the bulk of the assignments. So here's this week's. You'll notice I'm giving you until Sunday this week. I normally only give until Saturday at midnight, but because it was a late start week, you need some extra time, I need some extra time. We're all getting some extra time. So this week I'm giving you until Sunday at midnight. I usually run the class from Saturday to Sunday, or Sunday morning I should say. Sunday morning everything will be available until Saturday at midnight. So you have 2 weekend days to get everything done. as a former teacher, I know how important that is. Then you've got a checklist every week. Some of this is going to be repeated in a minute when I go through the rest of the PowerPoint. And this is a nice handy-dandy checklist for everything that's due. You've got it both in doc format and you've got it here if you want to just go this way. My face-to-face students often say, why can't you give us a checklist? I say, because you get the pleasure of seeing me every week to explain it all. So there's your checklist. I am also, don't tell anyone, but providing you with all the links, the PDFs of the readings. And don't call the copyright police because I could get in trouble. And I'll also the link to the framework, the California framework, which is what we're going to be using for this course. The framework is a little bit different than the standards book because the framework actually has chapters addressing different pieces, but then it also does have the standards for K to 8. If you are a high school teacher, you will need a different set of standards. And then all of us probably realize that the Common Core is what's come out recently, and we all will need to be familiar with the Common Core. Okay, so I'm going to go back out to the learning units. Oh, and go back in. And you also have the student questionnaire here, and this is where you'll click and complete the student questionnaire. I see that some of you have already submitted it, and usually I'll put the link to the blog here as well. I haven't done that just yet. I will add that. You can find the blog in assignment 1, and there's the blog. And there you go. And so far no one's commented, so I may need to send a reminder. You have until Sunday, but you do need to have done the reading first, so I understand it's just day 3. Maybe you haven't had a chance to do the reading before you do the blog. If you look in this file, you will also see that I have participation resources for you, and there are some examples of blog posts, so you can see what an excellent post and what an average post look like. And then there is the rubric for your blog posts. Lucky you, there will only be 5 because we're only a 5-week course. And then if you are struggling to use VoiceThread because that's what you're using to introduce yourself, here's where you can find a screencast on how to use VoiceThread. A little heads up, this is the screencast I created for the linguistics course. So the assignments I talk about on it are for linguistics and not this one, but it really gives the down and dirty on how to use VoiceThread. So also if you go to www.voicethread.com, there are a lot of screencasts on VoiceThread explaining how to use VoiceThread. And it's actually really handy for classroom teachers. So if you haven't had a chance and you've got a classroom, I could really see it being something really fantastic for middle schoolers, high schoolers, even the little ones. Recording their voice could be really cool for some poetry and some other things. Okay, so that's the learning units and the assignments. We haven't signed up for anything in groups yet, but this is where the group pages are. Let me scoot this over again. I'm not using course reserves as you saw. I'm breaking copyright law. Don't tell. There's nothing in resources yet, so you don't need to go there yet. Here's communication. If you need it there, you can also get to the group page. We're not using discussion board. I really find the blog to be so much better. There's a roster that you can click on, and you can click search and find all your classmates. You can also, come on back. There you go. Send an email this way, so if you need to send email through Blackboard, you can do it there. If you go to course tools, you can find my grades, so you can see where you're doing grades-wise. There's a calendar. We don't use the digital Dropbox. It is a nightmare for us as professors. And that's about the end of that. And that's all you need to see in Blackboard. So let's go back to our tour here. See behind the screen there, you know what I'm doing. Okay, let's look at the course topics over the next 5 weeks you'll become familiar with. We're going to be analyzing some data for school-wide decision making. We're going to be developing an action plan and creating really what I hope is more of an eye toward ongoing professional development. That's the best type of PD, PD standing for professional development. PD that's the one-stop shop, you go in once, you leave, you never use it, is really not the better way to do professional development. The best type is ongoing, and it will be grounded in the data from above. So now let's go into this in more detail. There are 5 learning units, 1 for each week. Usually a learning unit has a couple weeks in it, but we're down to just 5. This week is the course overview, introductions, and establishing the needs. So I have you reading some interesting articles on, you know, the high poverty, high performing schools, and I've been trying to select articles that are both for elementary and for secondary, so middle to high, trying to meet everybody's need. Unit 2 is using data to drive decision making, so we'll be playing around with some data. Unit 3 will be determining the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, also known as SWOT. Unit 4 is providing that PD based on data, and 5 is devising a plan. Know that in my dream course, I would have done Unit 5. I would have done the action plan before the PD, but because I want you to be able to watch everybody else's PD, I had to change this order. So sometimes things don't quite work out the way you'd like. So checklists, as you saw, each week you are provided with a checklist that really spell out each week's assignments and keep you organized. Here are the major activities or assignments for the course. Assignment 1 is class participation, blog, wiki. As I said, we won't be using discussion board. We may use a wiki, and we are using VoiceThread. Assignment 2 is the data and context evaluation. So you'll really be defining the who, what, where, and why of the data population that you'll be using. I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail in just a minute. I've got 4 minutes left on my screencast. Assignment 3 is that SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis for your particular data set. Assignment 4, now that you've looked at your data, you've looked at the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you're going to design PD based on that. And then, as I said, assignment 5 is the action plan. How will this be an ongoing type of outlook? And like I said, really I would rather have action plan than the group staff development, but it doesn't work in a 5-week course. Okay, so assignment 1 is that each week you'll participate in some way, in some type of discussion, because we don't get to be in person, and the way that you really build knowledge, if you're familiar with those theoretical models of reading and you think of Riddell and Unruh or you think of Rosenblatt, is you kind of build knowledge by not just in a silo all by yourself, but by building it off of others and discussion and learning by revisiting. So all of this is how we're going to do it. And I'm going to provide you with directions each week on the checklist. And so you know that this week you should be doing VoiceThread for introductions, just so you can get a taste of it, and that you should be doing the blog. So here is the blog and how it works. There is a prompt that is posted on the blog, and I usually also put it in the checklist. You need to read first before you can participate, and then you also need to read the comments of others. Here's a little motivational carrot. If you are the first one to post, obviously you can't comment on anybody else. So there's your little carrot. You don't have to say, as so-and-so said, I agree or I disagree, because you're first. Next, you must post a thoughtful, substantive comment by Saturday of each week. This week, you do have until Sunday, and your comment should reflect the reading and the thinking that you're doing about the topic. And as I said, I really recommend that you look at the model posts that are in Assignment 1's resources. Assignment 2, the data and context evaluation. I want you to, oh, yikes. So this is where it's nice that I have it live like this, and I can go like that. I really recommend, or I really want to get you familiar with some of the search engines for data, DataQuest and EdData. So you're going to be creating the demographics. Either you can do it for your actual school. I really feel that that would be more practical and more beneficial for you. But if you're not at a school site right now, I'm going to provide a data set. Hopefully, I have one already for elementary. I'm working to scrounge one for middle school, secondary type data set, but I will have you going to DataQuest or EdData, just picking a school and pretend that that's the school where the data is. And I will have all the detailed directions for this by Sunday. You're going to create a description of your target population, and you'll make an initial determination of the greatest strengths and weaknesses. I have to speed up. I've got less than a minute here. Assignment 4 is your group staff development project, and you're going to work virtually to create that. And then assignment 5 is the action plan based on everything previously. There are really no textbooks, so everybody go, phew, nothing to buy. There is a course packet that I'm divvying up and I'm putting on Blackboard for you, so nothing to buy there. And then the Department of Ed framework, and there is the link to it, and you saw that it's also in Blackboard. You do need to access Blackboard frequently, and it'll take you about 10 hours to work on an online class. People think they're easier, but they're not. Here are my tips for success. If you need help, And let's get started. And